Twitch. We're live on Twitch. If we're live on YouTube, we're live on YouTube. Alright, wicked. What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing good. What's up, Gucci? What's up, Spiz? What's up, Underrated? Good to see you guys. Hope you're all doing good. And yeah, man, I've not done one of these before. One of these streams. Like, I do obviously talk about over-unders a lot when I do streams, but I thought I'll just do a stream on over-unders. There's not much football on at the moment, so squeeze a stream out before the next round of games start. So yeah, hope you're all doing good, guys. So what we'll do, give people a couple minutes to like get notifications that the stream's going and give them time to get in here, and then we'll get going. So how's everyone doing, man? What's up, everybody? All doing good? Alright, fuck it. Actually, let's kick it off, man. If people want to watch this after, they can. It's all good. Alright, so want to say big thank you to everyone that hit the like button on the YouTube video this week. Said that we would do this over under live stream if the video got 200 likes, and it's just got 200 likes, so I appreciate it, guys. If you want these videos or live streams early though, like ideally I would like to do them on a Friday, so if you want to get these videos earlier, just hit the like button on the breakdown videos, share the video online, get more people to like it. Bang, we'll get the over under video, the over under live stream out early. So if you want that, man, get it done. But anyway, we're here, man. Better late than never. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to be going through every single fight on this card, taking a look at the odds on the over under for the fight, and I'm going to be talking about whether I think the fight is more likely to go the distance or end inside the distance, and then I'm going to be talking about which over gives you the better risk to reward ratio. Because, for example, you know, the fight between Glover and Jiri, we all know is very likely to end inside the distance, but the odds on that are probably going to be pretty steep and reflect the fact that it's very likely to end inside the distance. So perhaps betting over is going to give you the better risk to reward ratio at much more attractive odds. So in terms of over unders, we do perform pretty well on them since tracking profitability back in January 2020, so 2.5 years ago now. We've been consistently grinding out profits most months. Had this nasty period of variance where we dipped a lot because we lost a lot of overs in, well, not a lot actually, we just lost a few overs in a short space of time, and because I don't bet many overs, like I keep it really tight. If ever you're betting really tight, not placing a particularly high volume of bets, if you lose, you know, maybe a handful of bets in a short space of time, you know, it's going to have a big impact on the results. So that's what this variance is. Just we lost, like, you know, a few overs in a short space of time, which was super likely to win, like, you know, a big bet on the under in the Chandler versus Gaethje fight, things like that. So we took this dip, but as you can see, most months we're profitable, so we do good on over-unders. What I would say about my approach to over-unders, though, is it is hard to find value on over-unders. Every week I take a look at over-unders, put a lot of thought into them, because, you know, we do perform really well on them, so, you know, I want to be finding over-under bets. But it is hard to find value on them, man. You'll find that with over-unders, the vast majority of the time, the odds are exactly where they should be. So my approach to over-unders tends to be just keeping it tight and waiting for opportunities to pop up where there's like a lot of value on the over-under, and just betting aggressively when that happens. So for the majority of these fights, I'm not going to have over-under bets for them, but fingers crossed we can find, you know, maybe one or two. I looked last night and there was nothing really jumping out at me, but odds tend to move a lot on over-unders in the 24 hours leading up to a fight, so maybe when we take another look now we'll find something. But yeah, just be aware that the the odds on over-unders are usually pretty fucking accurate, unfortunately. So we'll start off by taking a look at the fight between Jocelyn Edwards and Ramona Pascal. So what I'm going to do is, just go over each of these fights very briefly as to why I think they're more or less likely to end inside the distance. So if we take a look at the odds on this one, we can see that fight goes to a decision is about 1.50 minus 200. So that's an implied probability of around, I believe it's going to be about 67%. Yeah, 67%. So what I would say about this one is, you're paying quite a big price if you bet on this fight to go the distance, right? An implied probability of 67%. Is the fight more likely to go the distance? Yeah, I guess. But with both these fighters, they both have huge weaknesses. Edwards is very weak on the ground. Pascal's got really bad striking defense and a really bad gas tank. If you look at Pascal's record, she's got a lot of fights that have ended inside the distance. She's only been to a decision 2 times in her career, and is very, very vulnerable on the feet. Very bad striking defense and gasses out pretty quickly. Jocelyn Edwards is pretty nasty, pretty aggressive on the feet. She does have legit one-shot KO power, which can make Pascal pay for her bad striking defense. Now, Edwards has gone to a decision a lot. In the UFC, she's gone to a decision in all her fights. But as you can see, earlier in her career, a lot of her fights ended inside the distance when she was facing a lower level of opponent. Now, her fights have gone to a decision in the UFC because she's been because she's been getting taken down and held down pretty easily. If for any period in the fight Pascal can't get her to the ground and keep her on the ground because she gets too tired, then she's going to be a sitting duck on the feet and very prone to the knockout. So, do I think this fight is more or less likely to go the distance? I think it's more likely to go the distance, but I think betting on the fight not to go the distance gives you a much better risk to reward ratio. On the basis that Pascal is pretty likely to gas, and when she does, she's going to be in a lot of trouble on the feet. So I'm not going to be betting this one personally, but if you do want to bet an over-under on this fight, I would say fight doesn't go to a decision is going to give you a far better risk to reward ratio on that one. So the next fight is Liang against Silvana Gomez Juarez. So if we take a look at the odds on this one, this fight, before I even look at the odds, I feel is more likely to end inside the distance for 2 reasons. Both fighters have extreme advantages in the area that the other is weak. So, Liang has tricky submissions on the ground. We know Juarez has got pretty low-level submission defense, so she's going to be very, very susceptible to being submitted if the fight goes to the ground. And if the fight stays on the feet, Liang's striking defense is really bad. She's a sitting duck to the knockout, and Juarez can crack, man. If you take a look at Juarez's record, obviously she dropped Vanessa Demopoulos in her last fight, and prior to coming to the UFC, she had a decent amount of finishes, due to strikes. A couple finishes there. She dropped Demopoulos in round 1. At the end of the day, Juarez isn't crazy dangerous. She's not going to cause many girls in the UFC a problem on the feet. But Liang is very, very low level on the feet. Very bad striking defense, very easy to hit, and gasses out as fights wear on. So I do think this fight is more likely to end inside the distance. However, the odds reflect that, with being really, really steep favourite odds. So obviously, no brainer. If you do want to bet this fight, I would say you've got to go with it to go to a decision. Much better risk to reward ratio, a decent sized underdog odds. But like I say again, I think it's more likely to end inside the distance. That's not the kind of bet I love, but the value is definitely on the fight going the distance. So now let's take a look at the next one, which is going to be Dana Baccarel against Kang. So let's find this fight. They actually split the odds up for UFC 275 into 2 different boxes. Alright, let's see. Where is it? Where are the odds? So here we go. Alright. So there's not actually odds for the over-under. How strange. Baccarel. Alright, that's very weird. There's no odds there for the over-under. I'll have a look on odds checker. It's a European odds checking site. So if we go to MMA, there we go. Switch to decimal odds because fractional's the fucking devil. And if we go to... Oh wow, up the top there used to be like all the prop odds up here. What is going on, man? Why aren't there odds for the over under? Let me check one of my betting accounts. I'm not going to bring it up on streams. I don't want the bookies to find out what my account name is. But let's see if I can find the odds on an actual betting site. Okay, so alright, so the over under on Kang versus Baccarel is pretty much even money. Cool. Weird how that's not on best fight odds, but anyway, we'll get on to it. So, we'll get on with it. So basically even money. Okay. 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 Right. Okay. Over under. Let's think about this. Even money odds range. Basically an implied probability of close to 50% on where this fight goes the distance or not. This is one of those fights where both guys are very aggressive. Like, both guys are vicious, mean, and nasty. There's no feeling out process with these two. There's no point fighting. There's no stalling. Both of them are very aggressive, and every single second that they're in the cage, they're looking to take their opponent out. Baccarel, nasty striker. Devastating, one-shot KO power. Kang, very aggressive as well, particularly on the ground. And we don't know a lot about Baccarel's ground game. So this is another example of where the odds are probably exactly where they should be, because while both guys are very dangerous, Baccarel's very dangerous standing up, Kang's very dangerous on the feet. Both guys are also super tough as well. Like, there's no quitting them. They're absolute warriors. It's not going to be easy to get either of them out of there. So I do agree that the over under in that even money odds range probably where it should be. The odds are probably accurate on this one. Again, this is the problem with over-unders. The odds are usually pretty accurate. And you've got a complete contrast as well in what we usually see from these guys, right? If you look at Baccarel's record, tons of finishes inside the distance. If you look at Kang's record, a lot of fights have gone to a decision. So again, that kind of clearly shows that it's very difficult to predict where this one's going to go the distance or not, and even money odds is probably accurate and exactly where things should be. So yeah, man, I don't know about this one. I don't know. I'm definitely not going to be betting the over under on this one. Has Kang ever been knocked out? So 9 losses, decision, armbar, decision, and soccer kick. So Kang's never been knocked out. For that reason, I'll say the over is more likely here. Baccarel's very dangerous on the feet, but Kang's never been knocked out, and if he can use his grappling, he can obviously take the fight to the ground where he's not going to be at risk of being knocked out. The problem is, obviously, we don't know anything about Baccarel's ground games. There's no footage available on it. But yeah, I'll say the over's more likely, but don't feel great about that one at all. Into the next fight, Brendan Allen against Jacob Malkoun. What are the odds on this one? Damn, these overs are brutal. These over-unders are tough on this card. It's just the way it is, over-under odds usually pretty hard to find value on. But when you do find value, you can produce a profitability chart that looks as good as this. A nice, steady, consistent uptrend. So it's important to keep it tight, be disciplined, and just wait and be patient for those opportunities where you can find a lot of value in the odds. So, okay. So, fight goes to a decision, underdog odds. Fight doesn't go to a decision, steep favourite odds, 1.50, minus 200, implied probability of 67%. If I were going to bet the over-under on this fight, which I'm not going to, I would go with fight goes to a decision. Yes, Brendan Allen is pretty aggressive. He will definitely take the fight to Malkoun. But Malkoun's a tough fucker. Brendan Allen's got bad fight IQ, has a habit of giving up position on the ground, has a habit of giving up cheap takedowns. There are opportunities in this fight for Malkoun to make it competitive and close. So Malkoun's pretty tough. It's not like Brendan Allen has, that legit one-shot KO power. He tends to break you down more with volume. Malkoun's tough, decent chin, not the most technical, but a tough Aussie that won't be easy to get out of there. If you look at Brendan Allen, go to his record, I mean, I would say this fight's more likely to go the distance. I won't be betting the over-under on this. What I would say is you don't want to be betting on fight to go to a decision in this, because the odds carry an implied probability of about 67%, which is a steep price to pay. And Allen and Malkoun are both tough fuckers. Like, they're both tough. It's not going to be easy for either of them to put the other away. They're both going to fight till their last breath. There's no quitting either of them. Neither of them are like crazy dangerous. Like, Jacob Malkoun's a blue collar grinder. Like, Allen's aggressive everywhere, but doesn't have legit one-shot KO power. Gives up position a lot on the ground. Yeah, I would say if you want to bet over-under on this, go with the over. Much better value. Alright, next fight. Hayase Mahashate against Steve Garcia. I'm not going to talk about this fight. There's virtually no footage available on Mahashate. Literally, aside from his fight on the Contender Series, there's just no footage, so I don't know what to expect from him. So I don't have a good read on that one. So Seungwoo Choi against Joshua Coolibao. Let's take a look at the over-under odds on this one. Even money. Even money. Alright. Even money. I would say that this fight is more likely to go to a decision. I do expect Coolibao to get lit up and dominated on the feet, but Seungwoo Choi's not the most aggressive striker, doesn't really have that killer instinct, and Coolibao's pretty tough. He'll be looking to hang in there as well. Won't be easy to get him out of there. Again, I won't be betting it myself, but if you do really want to bet the over-under on this fight, I would go for fight to go to a decision, but I don't feel crazy confident on that one. Next fight, Jack Della Madalena versus Ramazan Ameev. Let's take a look at the odds on this one. So the over-under on this fight is about 1.57, which is minus 175 for an implied probability of 64%. So out of all the fights on this card so far, I would say this is the only over-under that I feel reasonably confident in. I'm pretty sure this fight is going to go to a decision. I'd be surprised if either of these guys were to get a finish. Madalena is very dangerous, very aggressive on the feet. He's pretty nasty, actually. He's got a lot of finishes. He comes out the gate super aggressive. But we know Ameev is very good defensively. Very difficult to put away. Very well skilled everywhere. So it's not like he's going to be out of his depth anywhere that this fight goes. And we also know he's an absolute decision machine. His last 8 fights have gone to a decision. Even though Madalena is a lot more dangerous than all these guys that Ameev's fought, Ameev is still a tough Russian that will be difficult to put away. And as a result, yeah, I do like fight goes to decision in this. I'm thinking about betting it, actually. The only thing preventing me from pulling the trigger on this is that I don't like the odds. Implied probability is 64%. I don't love it. But then Ameev isn't really a finisher. And even though Madalena is very dangerous, Ameev is a tough Russian that won't be easy to put away. So I don't like any of the over-unders that we've spoke about so far in the stream. I haven't even been tempted to bet any of the over-unders so far that we've spoke about. But this one is interesting to me. This one is definitely interesting to me. And you look at Ameev's record, you can see why. Look at how often he goes to a decision. I mean, look, maybe this is the first time in a long time he doesn't. But implied probability is 64%. Not terrible. Not terrible. Alright, into the next one. Andre Filio against Jake Matthews. Let's take a look at the odds on this one. So I would say, so this is pretty cool. As we're working our way up through the card now, I'm starting to get more conviction with some of these over under leans. What I would say is, both guys have, based on past, right, the problem I've got with this fight is I haven't broken it down for you guys, right? There is a breakdown video. If you go to my website, you can find that I did. Where is it? Where's the fucking video? On my website, I did a 15-minute breakdown on this fight. So I don't want to get too deep on it, otherwise the stream's going to be very long. But the basic gist of how I see this fight is both guys have extreme advantages in the area that the other is weak. Filio has a big advantage on the feet. Matthews has a big advantage on the ground. Problem is, we haven't really seen Andre Filio's takedown defense and ground game tested in like 3 years. So 3 years ago, Filio's takedown defense and ground game was fucking awful. Like, no takedown defense, no ground game at all. Which makes it difficult to bet him this weekend. However, over the last 3 years, Filio's been training full-time at Sanford MMA. So he's likely to have improved his takedown defense and ground game a lot. But we don't know, because we haven't fucking seen it. Now, Jake Matthews isn't a particularly good grappler, but Filio is so bad on the ground that you don't need to be a good grappler to cause a guy like Filio big trouble. But Filio's striking has improved a lot since 2019. So I would expect his grappling to have improved as well. It's just we haven't seen it for so long, so we don't know. It's a complete unknown. So what I'm going to do, in terms of my over-under pick on this, I'm going to give Filio the benefit of the doubt. Because if the fight does go to the ground, I think it's really likely to go to a decision, because Matthews isn't dangerous on the ground. He's going to just look to kind of hold Filio down, wet blanket him, and control him. But what's interesting about Matthews is the more he grapples, the more he gasses himself out. And I do think Matthews is in big trouble on the feet. So Matthews is likely going to be forced to grapple in order to alleviate the pressure that Filio is going to put on him on the feet. And by doing that, he's likely to burn himself out, which will make his grappling less effective deeper into the fight and him more susceptible to getting knocked out on the feet. So I think it is more likely the fight doesn't go to a decision. I think it's more likely that the fight doesn't go to a decision. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving Filio a little bit of credit for it being likely he's improved his takedown defense and ground game a lot since 2019. The real risk to betting the over-under on this one, and the reason why I won't be betting the over-under, the reason why I'll be passing, is if Filio's takedown defense and ground game is still as bad as it was in 2019, the last time we really saw his takedown defense and ground game tested, Filio's is still as bad as he was back then, Matthews should be able to take him down easily in every round. Just lay on him for 3 rounds and win a boring 30-27 decision. That's where the bet is weak and why I won't be placing it. But if Filio's just improved his takedown defense a little bit, I do think pretty likely that one will go the distance. Alright, next fight, Joanna and Jacek against Weili Zhang. Now, they fought for 25 minutes last time, and it went to a decision, so I understand why the odds are the way they are, with fight goes with decision being about minus 250, 1.40 for an implied probability of, I think that's about 71%. Yeah, 71%. So I understand why a steep favourite odds, but if you really want to bet the over-under on this fight, I would actually go for the under. I know they've both been to a decision before. I know they've both fought to a lot of decisions in the past, but for me, there's just no value on these odds at an implied probability of 71%. I think fight doesn't go to a decision gives you a far better risk to reward ratio, just because we know Zhang's got major power. We've seen Joanna dinged in the past. I mean, she got dinged in their first fight. She's been dinged by Namajunas, right? We know Joanna's got a habit of being dinged, and Zhang's definitely got the power to knock her out. On top of that, when Zang gets tired, her striking defense isn't great. Her hands drop. She keeps her chin up high. She doesn't read her opponent particularly well. And we saw her obviously knocked out against Rose with a devastating head kick. Joanna's got some of the nastiest head kicks in the game. Very accurate. She can throw them up with no telegraph. You know, bang, head kick, dead. Joanna, very accurate with those head kicks. And so that's a weakness that she could potentially exploit. So I just think that the fight doesn't go to decision. Much better odds, far better risk to reward ratio. I would go with that. But again, their first fight went to a decision, so I'm not interested in betting it myself personally. Then we got Taylor Santos against Valentina Shevchenko. Odds dead even. Interesting. Odds are dead even on to go to a decision or not to go to a decision. I won't be betting the over-under on this myself either, but I would say this fight is more likely to go to a decision. I think this fight's more likely to go to a decision. Santos has been quite open about her plans to turn this into a grappling match. If she does, she's not like a devastatingly dangerous grappler, so unlikely she finishes Shevchenko. Shevchenko's not like a dangerous grappler either, so if Shevchenko's winning the grappling exchanges, unlikely she gets a finish. Santos can handle herself on the ground. You know, Santos is a bit of a decisionator. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of her last 6 have gone. No, sorry, was that right? Yeah, 5 of her last 6 have gone to a decision, albeit against a much lower level of opponent than Shevchenko. But Shevchenko's gone the distance and very deep into fights with some really low level fighters herself. Almost went the distance with Lauren Murphy, went the distance with Jennifer Maia, went the distance with Carmouche. Taylor Santos is so much better than those girls. It is ridiculous. So yeah, I do think this one's more likely to go the distance. A lot of people saying Shevchenko's going to go out there and smoke her. She's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to dominate, she's going to knock Santos out. I'd be surprised, motherfuckers. I'd be surprised. I would be surprised. This is a big step up in competition from Shevchenko relative to the level of opponent she's been facing over the last few years. You go back and look at Shevchenko's opponents over the last few years. Lauren Murphy, not very good. Jessica Andrade is a strawweight, stepping up to flyweight. Jennifer Maia, pretty low level. Chukagin, pretty low level. Carmouche, pretty low level, and was in her late 30s when they fought. Jessica I, pretty low level. Joanna Jędrzejczyk was a strawweight, again moving up to flyweight. And Priscilla Cachoeira, very, very low level fighter. So Shevchenko has fought a really, really low level of opponent over the last few years. And hasn't really looked too dangerous against some of them, like a good number of them. Santos is a big step up in competition. I think Santos is by far a more difficult challenge than any of these opponents Shevchenko's faced over the last few years. Yes, Jędrzejczyk's amazing, Andrade is very good, but size matters in MMA, and Andrade and Jędrzejczyk were strawweights moving up to flyweight. Taylor Santos is like the first true legit flyweight, you know, big, strong, athletic that Shevchenko's ever fought. So I do think for that reason she is likely to test Shevchenko in ways Shevchenko hasn't been tested before. I think she can make this really competitive, and I think this one's likely to go the distance as a result. So now if we look at the main event, obviously it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that this one's not very likely to go the distance. It really isn't. So I guess what might be a better idea is for us to look at the over-unders in terms of the rounds. Over 2.5 rounds, over 3.5 rounds, to see if we can kind of find any value in there. Obviously this fight is very, very unlikely to go to a decision. So even at these odds, I wouldn't recommend that. Do you know what, man? I do like to play things in the even money odds range, because I think if you can just lean 60-40 one way or the other, you know, over the long term, if you get those 60-40 leans right, it doesn't really matter losing individual bets. Over the long term, you should be able to grind out a nice profit. So let's play in this even money odds range, man, on this over 1.5 rounds. I would say that... Man, these over-unders are tough. These over-unders are tough because I was just about to say I'm finding it really difficult to see how Glover will survive early against Jiri. However, if Jiri shows up and performs like he did against King Mo and just looks to fight safe, chip away at Glover from a safe distance, use his footwork, his length, his movement to, pace himself across those 5 rounds. If Jiri fights like he did against King Mo, it is quite likely this fight goes deep because he won't be going for the kill early like he did against Uzdemir and Reyes. But even if he doesn't go for the kill, Glover's quite slow, bad defensively, easy to hit. So I'll go for under 1.5 rounds on this. If you really want to bet on the over-under, go for under 1.5 rounds, but it's not a particularly strong position. So like I was saying at the beginning of this stream, our record for betting over-unders is pretty good, man. You can see most months we make a profit, and since we started tracking results about 2.5 years ago, we've been grinding out profits nicely. Had this really nasty period of variance here, and that comes from the fact that we don't place many bets. We don't have many over-under bets. So if you lose like a handful of them in a short space of time, it's going to have a big impact on your results. Just because this isn't a high volume kind of bet. The reason why it's not high volume is it's really hard finding value on over-unders. I think because liquidity is so low on over-unders, it's one of those situations where it doesn't take much money to move the odds. So people that really do their homework on these over-unders can kind of correct the odds pretty quickly. As a result, it's hard to find value. So my approach to betting over-unders is to keep things super tight and just wait for those situations where there's like big value in the odds and you spot a really obvious mistake and a really obvious opportunity. And that's how I've been able to grind out these profits and put this profitability chart together. But it does require a lot of patience, a lot of passing, and just being really disciplined. So out of all the over-unders we've talked about on this video, on this live stream, the only one that I would be tempted to bet myself would be fight goes to a decision in Madalena versus Ameev. That's the only one. And while I don't love the odds, there might be a little bit of value on that. 64% implied probability. Ameev has gone to a decision in his last 8 fights. And while Madalena is very dangerous, Ameev is also very good defensively, difficult to put away, tough as nails. So I don't feel it's that likely Madalena finishes Ameev, and I don't feel it's that likely Ameev finishes Madalena because Ameev puts defense first, he holds back a lot and doesn't really have that killer instinct. So that's the only one that would tempt me. So yeah, hope you found that useful, man. You probably didn't find that useful. But these over-under bets, they're difficult to find value on, man. I keep it real with you guys. I'm not going to come out here and say, oh, this is a good bet, blah, blah, if it isn't. Right? At the end of the day, you've got to let the odds do the work for you, and these over-unders can be tough. If you do keep it tight, if you do stay disciplined, you can put together a profitability chart like this. Take away this like big upsurge, this big down surge. That's a nice steady profitability chart, you know what I mean? Steadily grinding out profits most months. So anyway, let's get it going, man. And what I'll do, I'm going to run off and live bet some football now. How are the games looking? But if you've got any questions, drop them in the live chat and I'll just answer them before I run off. What games we got going? Yes, so we're just about to enter the second half on these Argentinian games. So I want to be live betting them. So yeah, man. Drop any questions you got in the live chat. I'll whiz through them now, man. What's up? Let's do the website first. Let's refresh this in case more stuff has come through. What have we got? Nice one, Joey, mate. Cheers, dude. Thanks a lot, Joey. Alright, what have we got? Let's take a look on YouTube. Switch over here. Nice one, Asteroid, mate. Thanks a lot, mate. Nice one, Jamie Cook. Nice one, Chico. Asteroid saying Edwards is bigger than Pascal. Yeah, Edwards is really long and tall, right? Pascal's more stocky and short. What's up, Joey? Alright, looks like that's going to be it, guys. No questions. Alright, have a great weekend, guys. Hope you do really well tonight. Hope you all kill it, make loads of money. And yeah, man, I'm going to London this weekend. As soon as the UFC finishes, I'm heading off to London for Soccer Aid. So next week, I'm probably not going to be able to do one of these streams because I'm not getting back home until Tuesday. I'm staying in London until like Monday night, something like that. So I'm going to lose a day's work next week, which means I'll probably be playing catch up on fight research all throughout next week. So I won't be able to do this live stream next week, but I'll try and get back on it the week after. Next week's card is also massive. There's loads of fights on next week's card, which also makes it a time-consuming one to research. It's 14 fights to get through, which is a lot of work, and then it's a lot of complex fights as well, a lot of really interesting matchups that are going to take a long time to research. So I know next week I'm going to be under pressure to get through all these fights, so probably won't have time to do a live stream. But anyway, nice one, guys. Thanks for watching. Love you all. Take care, and I'll see you next week, man. Have a great weekend, boys. Hope you kill the bookies, punch